CMV, the transgender movement is based entirely on socially constructed gender stereotypes and wouldn't exist if we truly just let people do and be what they want. All of us have an innate gender identity. You can think of it like a blueprint for your body that your brain has. As far as we know, your gender identity is unchangeable and set from birth. For most people, their gender identity aligns with their biological sex, and these people are cis. Trans people are people whose biological sex does not match their gender identity. What their brain expects their body to be is not the one it has. This causes extreme distress, which we call gender dysphoria, something most trans people suffer from. This happens outside of gender. There are cases of people born without limbs getting phantom limb syndrome. This distress can be alleviated by transitioning, both socially and medically, through hormones and often surgery, after which many trans people experience gender euphoria at finally having a body and being recognized as having a body that matches their gender identity. Notice how none of this is at all dependent on gender roles. It's entirely to do with one's internal sense of self and one's body. Many trans people will often conform to the stereotypes of their gender, dresses, makeup, etc., in order to ensure people don't misgender them by mistake, but this is a method to be recognized as their gender by strangers. It is not the goal of transitioning. One of the lead singers of the little band Steam-Powered Giraffe transitioned from male to female halfway through the band's discography. This is interesting to me, and not just because the band didn't break up or change lead singers and actually recovered many of their old tracks, just in a higher key. It's cool because their shtick had always been that they were steam-powered robots, and they worked it into their character's backstory. That little side plot they did is IMO, one of the single best metaphors for gender dysphoria and transitioning. Rabbit, the character, had always felt an innate sense of wrongness, and early songs in their career point to it every now and again. At the time of the transition, they revealed in an accompanying comic written for the reveal that the band had found a copy of the blueprints for Rabbit left by her creator, Walter. Those blueprints revealed that she was literally assembled incorrectly. That she was always supposed to be a female android, but that something, somewhere, had gone wrong in her assembly. That was why she always felt wired wrong, always felt somehow disconnected. Rabbit is asked, in the comic, if she wants to be a female. She responds that she doesn't totally know, but she knows she feels wrong and that this might be the answer. Rabbit is reborn as Bunny, and their story continues. Edit, I was wrong about this a bit. Rabbit knew very well that she was supposed to be female, but her creator died before he could finish her. Rest of the point still stands, but this strengthens it. She always knew, and it bothered her for over a century. https://images.app.goo.gl/t8ic5wywmgsqf for IP7. I find that very interesting because it helps me begin to understand intellectually. I myself have never had dysphoria either, although at least one of my exes that I know about has now come out of the closet as being the opposite gender of when I dated them. As to your initial point, I do see it a little bit, but I think it's a separate point. Just because many trans people present with things that we would stereotypically call girly does not mean that all do. However, enough people have that perception that what it's really done, in my opinion, is potentially set back equality and gender presentation a little bit. Not intentionally, of course. What I mean by that is that I have always been a girly pretty boy. But definitely a man. I love my dick. I love having a dick. I love peeing through my dick and penetrating people with my dick. I also like to shave my legs, and wear makeup, and wear high heels, and wear nail polish. There was, I feel, a span of about 10 years where the LGBT movement had died down a bit, and the trans movement hadn't gained much traction yet, where I could be both of those things simultaneously, without being looked at like too much of a freak. Now, even doing one or two of those things has people asking me if when I plan on transitioning. As if it's expected that at some point I will, just because I like to strap on heels and splash on glitter every now and again when I go dancing. I don't know. TLDR, I guess, to be trans, in my understanding, is to have the feeling of being assembled wrong. To look down, wanting to seize your dick, and find only a hole there instead. I've never experienced dysphoria, but that's what I think trans people are trying to get through to me. I am personally irritated because people now keep asking me when I'm going to become female every time I shave my legs and wear short shorts to the beach, but I am realistic enough to know that this probably has less to do with the trans movement being innately about gender expression. It's not, and more likely to be about people oversimplifying the situation and trying to be overly respectful to me in case I am dysphoric. So for me, getting on hormones was the greatest thing to ever happen to me because I knew my body would stop progressing down a male path. I continued to present male for 2 years after, and while it was not easy, just being on hormones made all the difference mentally. I would 100% prefer to have to dress as a male, but be able to continue to take my hormones, than be able to dress as a female, but not be able to take the hormones. My body just feels better. I needed my body to biologically shift for that to happen. No amount of female clothing was going to make the feelings go away. Firstly, those things do exist, and one can't simply erase them no matter how much we might want to. Additionally, transo includes people who feel dissonance with their body, not their expression of the social role. E.g. transsexuals or those who would like to transition physically can have whatever gender identity but still look at their parts and say, that's not right. It's important to make this distinction. You might not like your role as a man in society, but that doesn't mean you look at dick and say, whoa, that's not what should be there. This isn't because you want to socially align to some ideal of women, it's because your body feels wrong. So if you just let the transgender movement reach its natural conclusion unimpeded, there would be no transgender movement or need for one? Yeah, that tracks, I guess. The issue is it's just wishful thinking to think everyone would just let people do what they want. Just 2 or 3 years ago everyone was concerned with which bathroom transgender people were using. Right now everyone seems concerned about whether or not trans women should be able to compete in high-level organized sports. Unfortunately, too many people won't just let people do what they want and want to police people based on their high school level understanding of biology. The transgender movement exists to allow transgender people to do more of what they want as transgender people in spite of those people trying to police them. I'm gonna chime in here as well. I'm a pretty masculine woman in terms of societal perceptions. I wear cargo pants and men's shirts pretty often and am wearing ripped jeans and a flannel today. I only date women. My pre-pandemic hobbies were Brazilian jiu-jitsu and a lot of other martial arts before that, weightlifting, camping, etc. I know my way around power tools or a Home Depot and even worked in construction for 2 years. I'm known for being fairly tough and for enjoying grappling matches with friends. I got in a number of fights in middle school and high school. I don't think those things make me a man. I'm definitely a woman. People see me and address me with she/her pronouns. I get called a ma'am or miss. I make friends with women easier and we understand each other and each other's experiences, even though my hobbies are often pretty masculine/outdoorsy. But I grew up a boy. I'm a trans woman. There's no way that boys being able to wear dresses would somehow make me into a boy. What would that have changed about my life? I know men who wear dresses and makeup and enjoy them. And they're still men. I also know women like myself who are tomboys and we're still women.